Joining us in the studio is Mickey Fulp. He's a geologist and editor of the mercenarygeologist.com. Thanks very much for joining us. Always good to see you, Mickey. Many pretenders and few contenders. We're going to show a picture from one of your reports, and where you're talking about bubbles in the market. And the title of this particular picture is Beware of Frogs. That's an ugly looking frog masquerading as princess, not princess as in the female version, the male version. How much hype has been built into the marijuana market here in Canada and the United States as well?
Well, it's certainly going to be a legitimate business, but it is really much based on hype. The problem in Canada, there's a limited number of grow licenses. And what we've seen starting in March is a flurry of failed junior resource companies flooding into this space with no cash, diluted shares, rollbacks, CEOs who I like to refer to as lifestyle companies mining the stock market. So we need to be aware of those types of companies.
It used to be moose pasture mines, and all of a sudden it's marijuana pasture mines is kind of the way it works. And there was a lot of enthusiasm, most of it hot air though?
Well, I think so. It's like all these bubbles, and it's very similar to the dot-com bubble in 2000, although an order of magnitude smaller. I think there's about 90 companies in this space in the U.S. and Canada now, but very similar in the fact of it's dominated by day traders. And the thing that concerns me, of course, is the management of these junior resource companies. They don't generate cash flow, and this is going to be a cash flow-driven business.
And so it's as simple as do your homework, be careful, and I think we have a graph of a couple of them, how they've performed. They went straight up, came straight down. There will be winners, but probably few and far between.
I think so, and the winners, I think, are going to be the downstream end of this. I use the analogy during the gold rush. It's not the prospectors that make the money, it's the general store merchant and the infrastructure guys, the ships and the railroads and the financiers. So I think if you're going to play this market, you want to look for a downstream niche in this or a vertically integrated company. Personally, it looks a little risky for me, so I'm going to use another little one-liner here and say I'd rather think I'll bogart my stash of cash for something different.
Well, it's interesting that you say it's a little risky for you. You're a geologist. Your website's the mercenarygeologist.com, so you know risk. Let's talk about the venture exchange. You joined us in May. You said that you thought there was going to be a washout period of some sort. You weren't really willing to step in, certainly not with both feet. We have a graph of the venture, which kind of tracked higher a little bit into the summer. It's given way back to levels it was actually when you were here. Is there more of a washout pending? This is seasonally probably the worst time for this index.
Normally we would have expected a rally post-Labor Day when everybody comes back to work. What we saw in summer was a flat market, basically with very little volume. There were no sellers, but concomitantly, there were no buyers. We would have expected a rally, but that's been completely scuttled by the weakness in the economy, driven directly by the U.S. dollar. So we hope there would be a bounce. Certainly, October, November is generally, let's look into November, a good time for that market because people have exploration results and they are starting to raise money. However, if we don't get a strengthening of commodities across the board, I don't think that's going to happen. We could test the lows of the high 800s that we had last June and in December.
Now, so it's the commodity. So, but I also want to talk about all of these juniors out there. I've seen a couple of reports, one from Deutsche Bank, I think the other one might have been from Canaccord Genuity, saying that a lot of these smaller companies are looking at one another. They're just looking for opportunities for consolidation. We have not seen it in any big way.
Well, but we have seen some mergers and acquisitions. So I hold about 35 juniors in my portfolio, all the way from generative explorers to miners, and not particularly big miners all the time. But in my portfolio, I've had either 5 or 6 mergers and acquisitions this year. So we recently saw the takeover of Curis by Taseko. We saw Flinders in graphite space taking over Big North. Now both those deals have not been completed yet, but I own both of those companies well, I own Curis and I own Flinders, so opposite ends. But so we are seeing that, probably not in a splashy way, because the companies that are being merged and acquired, or whatever kind of strategic alliances, et cetera, have been relatively small and not particularly on the radar screen.
And how far up do you think the U.S. dollar goes, and conversely, how far down does the price of gold go?
I predicted at the beginning of the year that gold would test the low of 1,200. I will continue to stick with that. But I also said I thought it would end the year higher than it started. I think that's about 1,220, so we'll see.
Well, and today we've got a bit of a turnaround, up 250. I guess they can't go straight down.
No, it certainly cannot. It's a buying opportunity for me. I like physical gold, so I actually like low gold prices, Francis.
There we go. Thank you very much, Mickey. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Mickey Fulp is a geologist and editor of the mercenarygeologist.com.